All right. Another day going live. Thank you for joining me. And if you're here with me, I'd love for you to comment in the chat because I have something very special for you today. So, the exercise, and when you comment in the chat, just kind of share who you are. And, I'd love to connect with you. I'm going to make it a priority to go live as much as possible on YouTube, even if it just is for 20 minutes, because I really want to share things that I think will help you become a better version of who you are, but a better business owner so that you could then reach more people. So let's get into what we're going to cover today. And this exercise seems really simple, but it's actually probably one of the deepest exercises that you could do. And so the exercise is called your perfect average day. Now, I'm not the creator of this exercise, and I'm going to share how I found it and all the things and why it's important. But I came across this exercise about 2 or 3 years ago on YouTube. And I'll put the original video for the original from the original creator in the comments. But it's from Frank Kern, and he has a talk called Core Influence. And the video is about 2 hours long, and he goes through this exercise, which he calls your perfect average day. And I don't think he's the creator of it, but he may give credit to the original creator or just mentions that he's not. So whoever the original creator is, I appreciate you. But the power of this exercise and why I think it's valuable for me to share today is that number one, tomorrow's August 1st. So as a business owner, what that means is that, we have August, September, October, November, December, and then there's the new year. So the focus that you gain and how locked in you are within the next 90 days will literally determine how you close your year and how you start 2025. And obviously, starting 2025 with serious momentum will always give you a competitive advantage versus not starting with momentum. And we don't have to go down that rabbit hole. The second kind of reason why I'm sharing this with you today is because sometimes we know all the technical or task related things that we should be doing in terms of the result that we're going to get. So if you're trying to grow on LinkedIn, then after watching my videos, you probably know, okay, I should be posting. This is how to post video. I should be going live. This is how to do it. And sometimes we don't need more of that. And what we need is more emotional, motivational. What we need sometimes is just different. So this is kind of my attempt to give you something different today. And if you watch this and you like it, you appreciate it, just put your feedback in the comments. So the third degree power of what I'm about to show you is that most of the times when we think about our dream life, you think about kind of a day that's not an average day in your dream life. So you're thinking maybe you're traveling in a jet. I don't know what your dream life looks like, but eating lobster in the middle of a sandbar, like, I don't know, right? But usually what we do is we have a tendency to think about a non-average day within that dream life. With this, I see some hands in the chat. Like, I don't know, like maybe you're, in a very fast car. I don't even know what the fastest car is, like driving down the mountains, whatever. But it's usually like not a day where you work and do average things, like pick your kids up from school and so what this exercise is going to do is going to kind of zoom in to your perfect average day in your dream life, which is why the exercise is called Perfect Average Day. We'll go through the questions. Now, why is this important? What does this have anything to do with business, content creation, whatever? It's important because as he shares in the talk, and this could kind of be woo woo, but I really believe it, is that the more that your daily life looks like your perfect average day, the more you close the gap between like where you are now and where you want to be on the daily, the more you live a life aligned with your core self, which is what he calls it, the more magnetic you become, the easier it is for you to create a video and resonate with the right people. You attract better clients, and business becomes more effortless because you have more energy to pour into your business and you're happy about it because you're working with the right people, and it just all compounds into something really positive. Now, this seems simple, but it's not. Okay. And this is not an exercise that you will do in 10 minutes. You shouldn't be done with this in 10 minutes. Like, we go really deep into this with our clients, and it should probably take them maybe like a couple hours a weekend to really think it through and then to start to make the changes. So if you're ready, put yes in the chat. We'll kind of go through the initial questions, but we'll go through why, it's really important after. So I'm going to bring up the slides, and here we are. Okay, so we have pen and papers ready. And so I know I did a poll and it said like go live in the afternoon, but uh school's starting soon, so it'll probably be like midday or morning. It is what it is. Okay, so this is the perfect average day for you. And when you think about these answers, like when you do this on your own, maybe this weekend, you want to actually bring a notebook and like write down your answers. This is actually really important. Okay, so you want to think about your perfect average day. Where do you wake up? Like, you open your eyes, what does the scenery look like? And maybe it's, oh, I wake up and I'm in a penthouse overlooking New York City. Or, oh, I wake up and I'm very close to the beach, or I could hear the waves. Whatever it is, then you just want to become aware of it. Now, that, like, where you are now compared to your answer is irrelevant. Okay, you just want to actually think about, what does your core self really want? And the power of this exercise is like when we zoom in to the microscopic day to day of your life, we can start to make changes immediately. So let's say that I live in a closet in a studio in New York City. And let's say that I want to wake up by the beach. The first thing that I could do is I could go print a picture of the beach, or I could go buy a little painting of the beach, and I could put it inside of the closet so that it's right there when I wake up. The second thing I could do is maybe I could get a candle that smells like sea salt. And then the third thing I could do is maybe I could get like a white noise machine. So the whole point of this exercise is, no matter where you are in your life right now, you could start to get close to your perfect average day and start to actually feel closer to what that would look like. And then you never know, maybe in a year you'll actually be on the beach. Does this make sense? So it's just the awareness that matters first, the gap, and then the little things of how you could bridge the gap and close the gap really matter after the fact. But just understand that that's the point here. So where do you wake up? How do you feel when you wake up? This is really important. And maybe you put a little sneak peek of your answer in the comments. I love it. Emmanuel I often put beach sounds. I love it. Yeah. So how do you feel? Now, most people think it's the norm that we feel tired, or you talk to an average person and they wake up, they're like, I feel so exhausted. It's just another day. And you probably don't want to feel that way. So really think about, how do you feel? You feel energized, you feel excited. I don't want to speak for you. I'm just speaking for myself. Who would be there with you? And hopefully, if you're in a relationship, it's the same person. but it maybe doesn't, like, maybe it's not. Maybe if you are not in a relationship, maybe you start to think about the type of person that you're waking up next to. What is the first thing that you do in the morning? And for many of you, that's probably not grabbing your phone. So, in your perfect average day, what's the first thing that you do in the morning? Maybe it's running at the park. Maybe it's, meditating or taking your dog out for a walk. Coffee, that also works. Bravo. Yes, coffee. Uh, I'll mention something about coffee at the end because I don't want to go down a rabbit hole, but meditate. So the whole point is like, let's say it's reading the Bible or meditating. Every morning, every day that you don't do that, you distance yourself from your core self. And whether you're aware of it or not, your energy may be different that day. You may not attract the same level of people that day, like, vibration, or like, the type of person that would really want to work with you. You don't have the same confidence that day. Your authenticity is not the same because the energy is different. So those little things, you don't show up to the same way to client meetings, to prospect calls, and these little things matter. When do you start work? Like, what time? For some people, it's like 5 o'clock in the morning. For other people, it could be 10 or 11. And obviously, if you're starting in your perfect average day at like 10 and you have to start at 7 now, then that's, you know, things have to be done to kind of close the gap. What does your office setup look like? So right now, if your office is like gray with like, I don't know, just like very stale furniture, and like you think about your perfect average day and you walk in your office and it's like emerald green velvet royal chair, then I'm sure you could find something. Who do you serve in your business? And really think about that. And again, you like, I don't want you to answer this on the fly, but just kind of, do a mini exercise now, and go deeper over the weekend. So when you envision your perfect average day, what type of people are you serving? How big is your team? And this is a big one because some people will come to us and they're like, oh, I want to be a solopreneur forever. Other people will be like, I want to build a team of 1,000 employees. And in their perfect average day, they have a team of like 5 people, right? What revenue is your company bringing in monthly, and profit? So you want to get into that. What do you sell? So if in your perfect average day, the main thing that you sell, let's say, is like books and, ebooks and whatever. And right now you're selling uh cameras, like there's going to be you have to bridge the gap. Who do you sell, like how do you sell it? So this is actually huge. We have a lot of people that when they start working with us, they may say, "Oh, I just don't want to do outbound anymore. I don't want to do cold calling, or like the outbound is just so exhausting, and there's a limit to like the connections on LinkedIn now, and that's affecting the strategy. And also, as other competitors grow their brand, we're just finding less efficacy with it. I want it to feel easier." And then, of course, they come to us because we're inbound experts. So, how do you actually sell it? Do people come to you? Do you have to chase? Do you just teach on a webinar? Do they call you? Like, really think about it. Because if right now you're doing cold calls and or cold DMs, and in your perfect average day, you're doing a webinar to like 1,000 people, then you know, some skills training needs to start. We have to start thinking, okay, well, How are we going to start the webinar? How are we going to get people there? So on and so forth. How many hours of work do you have in the morning? So is it like 4 hours, 5 hours? I don't know. Maybe some of you it's 2 hours. I know Andrea is laughing right now. And I'm so happy to see all of you here. Like I love to see when things grow. Like even my hobby is gardening now, and I love to just see things like break through the surface of the soil. How many hours of work do you have in the morning, and what do you do during those hours? So if right now you're like in back-to-back meetings in the morning, and in your perfect average day you're like, I just want to create in the morning, no client meetings, which was my answer at one point, like let's say probably a year and a half ago, and it's the reality now. Then you just have to start getting closer to what your perfect average day is. So what does that look like? What do you eat for lunch? And then like, around what time? Who do you eat lunch with? And maybe it's, oh, with your partner at home or with a coworker or whatever. You make, or maybe you pick your kid up at daycare or school and you have lunch and you just make that something that you do. Or maybe you aim to eat lunch with 3 friends a week. Like, it's your answer, but you really have to think about it. What would your afternoon look like? So after lunch, after the midday, are you putting in 4 more hours of work? If so, what do those hours look like? Or are you just like at a sandbar drinking a pina colada or something? Uh, but remember, this is your perfect average day. How would you spend your evening? Who do you spend it with and how do you feel? Maybe right now everyone like in your house is on their phones in the evening and you envision like, oh, game nights or just doing things more as a family. And so you start to make those changes. What do you do for dinner? And where do you eat dinner? This is important. So for me, just thinking like, okay, well, where do you eat dinner? We have this outdoor patio now with a table and all this stuff. And I could already feel like, okay, I'd like to eat outside more. Like when Entree and Shankar were here, we ate outside. And so, how do I make it so we prioritize eating dinner outside like 2 to 3 times a week? What do you do in the 2 hours leading up to bed? Maybe it's reading, right? Maybe, versus what you're doing now. And then what are you excited about that's happening the next day? And share in the comments like what your favorite thing is so far of this exercise. And how do you feel as you close your eyes, like, when you go to sleep? Overthinking. That's funny. And so that's actually a great comment because the, when you do this, you kind of don't. I mean, this is just kind of an appetizer to the actual exercise. But when you do it, you almost want just kind of warn people like, give your family a warning or something like leave me alone for an hour or whatever. Wake up early in the morning and just make sure that you almost don't self-filter your answers. You almost have to just feel it. So that's the perfect average day exercise. Now, when he explains it, how it changed his life was that he was already a multimillionaire. If you don't know who Frank Kern is, he's been very successful in internet marketing for decades now. And so I think he was living in Georgia or something, somewhere in the South, and he was very successful, but he was miserable. He was building the type of business that when he did this exercise did not align. And he started to make changes. And I think within 6 months to a year, he went from living in Georgia or wherever he was to living on the beach to building a business more aligned with the answers that he shared in his exercise. And because he was just living more aligned with his core self, things became effortless. I've had the same experience. Shankar, my business partner, we actually have a recording of when we first did this exercise. I think it was like a year and a half ago now. And he was sharing how powerful he thought it was, and the way that he has closed the gap has been like seriously major. And you know it's just really, it's a great exercise, because instead of just thinking about a vision and things that are a little bit too distant or not specific enough, it just zooms into an actual day. And so when you do the exercise, once you have your answers, you want to almost put a line in the middle of the paper and then compare your answer to where you are now. And going back to the closet example, you then want to ask yourself, and he kind of explains this in the video, but I'll explain it in a way that I have found most helpful. Is you ask yourself, okay, well, what's the easiest way that I have control of today to close this gap? And if you're waking up in a closet in New York City and your answer is the beach, then we gave the example of the candle, the picture. You could change your screensaver as well, and you could put white noise on your phone. You've already done something to close that gap. And then you just reiterate for every single one. And what this also does is it gives you complete control, where you can get closer to living your actual dream life today. And the closer that you get, the closer you'll see that it will actually happen. And you'll start to become like a 2.0, 3.0, whatever version of yourself. And people will just notice that. You'll just see the numbers in your content go up. People will resonate with you. They'll feel something. The type of clients that you'll start working with, you'll just vibe with, because you're actually aligning and starting to live a life that's aligned with your core self. So I hope that you all enjoyed this. If you have questions, put them in the chat. Okay, so hi, Shanae. I've been following your work on YouTube. What's up? I own a marketing management agency. Want to collaborate with you for a few content. If you are up for collabs, tell me. So you could always message support@growthacademy.global. Yeah, and this really, share the exercise with friends and let me know what else would help you. Because I'm going to try to go live as much as possible, at least once a day. And I want to bring things that are actually going to help you. Now, today's exercise, I thought would be more fitting because tomorrow's August 1st. And I think that, when you need to get locked in, it's not just about information. It's really about emotion. And you don't always just need more information. So sometimes I'll be doing tutorials and teaching, and yes, that's important. But sometimes I'll be bringing things like this. Yeah. So what improvements have you seen happen from people doing this? Are you going to continue to build future videos on this? Yes, I am. I've actually been requested, like, uh, and also more than this specific exercise. Because I think, so one of the things with like morning routine and mindset and all of that is I think a lot of those things are kind of like nutrition. Some people do really well with these specific things in the morning, for lunch with these specific foods, and you don't know what those things are for you until you try a couple of things and you find the rhythm, the foods, when to eat the foods that work best for you. So I don't really think there's like one formula. And I'm saying this because I'll show you this exercise. I'll show you 25 other exercises. And I'm never going to proclaim that this is the one exercise, like, those like threads that will absolutely revolutionize your life. It could, but maybe this one doesn't resonate with you. And the next one is like, whoa, this is deep. because sometimes it's just seeing things from a different perspective, or your life experiences, you'll resonate with the other one more. So the answer to your question is yes, I'll definitely share more of this stuff, especially if you all want me to. I'm always going to do what the community wants me to do. Like, I listen to you. So share in the chat what you want. And literally, I will be like, this is what we're going to do to my team. This is what people want. Um, Now, improvements of what I've seen. So one of the biggest ones has been Shankar. And one of the main changes that Shankar, when we did this exercise, was that he was in his business. So he just had an agency. They would only deal with like agency clients, which is actually doing all of the work for them. He'd have to be in the weeds of almost every single process. And he wanted to get out of that particular like business model. And I mean, today he's traveling everywhere and he's no longer in the weeds. And he's standing in a role of CEO, investor, advisor, and that was less than 2 years ago. And I think that that matters for that particular time in his life. Like, he had already put in so much time to build a great, successful healthcare marketing agency, and his core self was just pinging, like, I need to get to the next step. Like, this is no longer the position that I want to be in or that I can be in for the business. So it's also like a season thing. And now he just went to a Bitcoin conference. They're going to Europe next week, then Singapore, then Bali, and that is what his core self wants. And we had to get to a point where things in like modeling his life around that. And there's no comparison. You compare the videos of him before to now, and people just naturally gravitate to him now. Beforehand, like, he'd post videos and there would be like no resonance, no like seasoning, because he wasn't aligned with his core self. I hope that makes sense. What else? How was your day? Okay. Yeah, I could interview quite a few people. So interview them about this particular exercise or just other things. And the other thing, I'm going to do a whole YouTube video on this. I think that our culture has become too self-centered. So when you see a solution, or you want to grow your business, you want to become a better person, you want to do this, you want to do that, we have such a tendency to be like, we must solve this alone. I have to find the one solution that I could take my thing to the next level, and only me. And a lot of people will ask me, well, how do I stay motivated? How do I keep my head in the game? And the realest answer I could give you is that I don't depend on only me to do it. And the reason why I don't depend on only me to do it is because if I would only depend on that, then the chances of me like not wanting to do something is much higher. But if I surround myself with people that will keep me accountable and that I could do the same for them in a community, then I mean, my chances of success are just so much higher. Like, I think it's important to have the right people around you on your down days. I don't know. I don't know if you agree with that. And so instead of sometimes looking for like solo solutions, the real answer can become, well, who can I spend more time with that can keep my head in the game, right? Who can I get closer to? What can I do for them just so I could like build a relationship with them and get their attention? Like, I have friends that, like acquaintances, friends, whatever, and like they'll call me like 2 days ago. I didn't go live, and my friend was like, "Are you gonna go live on YouTube?" I was like, "Yeah." And I appreciated that so much. And you need people like that in your corner. And for me, like, in a way, in a way, I wanna say I got lucky, but, with Andrea and Shankar, like, we have that. And so think about who you have in your corner. And it's not just business people. So that's the other thing is that maybe maybe you have a friend in your life that because there's this other myth, right? That when you grow in business, you just cut people off that like aren't on your level. And some people's value or how they help you, they may not make the same level of money as you, but they may be able to like give you that inspiration when you need it in a different way. Or maybe it's that friend that like makes you laugh a lot, right? And just you having fun and laughing could help your business and keep your head in the game. Does that make sense? You need people like that. Because if not, if you're just solo and you don't have like at least 3 to 5 people that you really build those relationships with, and the flip side of that is like, yes, you need people like that, and you need to do the work to upkeep those relationships. Like you need to call them a couple times a week. You need to check on them, and they'll do the same for you. So, I think that that's just really important. Anything else? How was your day? Any other questions I could answer? And here I have a entree. How do I think you're a moderator. Yeah, and we put out a little product today. I wanna shout out Emanuela or Emmanuel. I don't know how to say your name right. I hope I'm saying it right. But I know that I think you're from France and you got the 30-day challenge product. So it's basically just 30 days of videos of what to post on LinkedIn to help you become consistent. And so shout out to you. Okay, I am saying it right. Cool. Yeah. And if you want to check it out, just email us. It's support@growthacademy.global and we'll send you the link for it. It's 50% off. I think it's $100 until midnight. But it'll give you exactly what you need to post for 30 days on LinkedIn. But I just wanted to shout you out. Because I remember you watched a YouTube video. I have a good memory. You watched a YouTube video or something, and then you posted your video, you tagged us. I was like, "Oh, wow, your video did really well." And then when I saw the name, I was like, "Oh, I think that's the person from YouTube." So, yeah. All right. So, you guys have a good evening. I appreciate you so much. And, yeah, I'll talk about mindset more, I promise. Chasing optimal. And I'll share some more exercises, even some meditations. So if you look at Andrea in the chat, and let's do this before I go. Andrea used to host these affirmation rooms, these audio rooms, and they were so helpful. But if you think that that would be valuable, like I think it was like 10 or 15 minutes to just hear some positivity in the morning, maybe like once a week, we could bring her on live and she could do that for you just so you have something to listen to maybe when you're grounding yourself in the morning. Yeah, they love that Entree. Entree is like always doing things on the whim. Entree, they want the live. Yeah, and she has, like, that podcasting voice, like, "Now breathe in." When she was in Florida, she did the priming exercise that, like, Tony Robbins, like, with the like that, and it would pump us up before meetings, and I just think that all of that's important, but there's not, like, a lot of resources on YouTube where you could just listen to it when you want, like, in the morning, so we'll have her on. Okay, Andrea's committing to it, so one of these mornings, I'll bring her on, and then you could always replay that live. More woo woo. Okay, that's all you had to say because there's a lot more where that came from. So we will do more woo woo. No, I think it's important. And this is also like when you're thinking about your clients, this will be like the last thing that I say because I'll go down like a rabbit hole. But when you're thinking about the value that you bring to your clients, like one of the things that we teach our clients is that there's like tangible value. So there's value that you can measure. Like when people join Growth Academy, their views can go up, their calls, their inbound calls, they can make the money, like whatever. Those are things that can be measured. But it's often like the things that really can't be measured that are the things that make you the most valuable. So, for example, the other day I was in a one-on-one session with a client, and she said, "You know what, Shanae? Like when I go live now, I'm excited and I'm not afraid. So, how do you measure that, right?" And for me, those are the things that you have to like really pay attention to. Because if you know the intangible or the non-measurable value that you bring people, you can also communicate it and you can create resources around it, content. And when you're thinking of your content strategy, just know that it's not all information. That there's gonna like to really set you apart, that other side has to kind of be the stickiness, right? And I hope that made sense. It's getting to the evening. But yes. But I appreciate you so much. Watch the exercise. Let me know how you like it. Thank you for tuning in live. I'll be live tomorrow, and we'll see when we bring Andrea and share the channel. God bless you. Ciao.